She was sitting 3 tables away. Same earrings I gave her for our 10th anniversary. Same smile she used when she wanted something expensive. Her hand rested lightly on his wrist, just long enough to not be casual. He laughed at something she said, leaned in, touched her knee under the table. I didn't blink, didn't move. Just sat at the bar, swirling a glass of scotch, waiting for the moment I'd practiced in my head at least 50 times. At 7:14 p.m., I flagged the waiter. Slid a folded card across the counter with a $100 bill beneath it. See that woman in the red dress at table 7? He nodded. Give her this. Say it's from the man who couldn't make dinner tonight. He hesitated, maybe recognizing the edge in my voice. But the money said keep walking. I watched him cross the floor. Hand her the note. She smiled politely, opened it casually. And then her entire face changed. Not panic. Not guilt. Recognition. Because the handwriting was mine. And the words? Enjoy your dinner. I hope it tastes as good as the lie you told me this morning. She looked up fast. I scanned the restaurant. She didn't see me. I turned just enough so she wouldn't. She stood, blurted something to her date. He looked confused, then annoyed. She grabbed her purse and moved fast toward the lobby. I let her pass right behind me. She didn't look down, didn't see me, but I watched her reflection in the bar mirror. She looked terrified. 10 years married. 2 kids. Mortgage in both names. Vacations on my points. Jewelry on my dime. Love on loan. And she gave it all to someone else with smoother hair and a leased Jaguar. I finished my drink. Didn't rush. Let them both sit in it. The man stayed at the table. Confused. Alone. She never came back. Outside, I watched her pace in the parking lot, fumbling with her phone like she could rewrite the last hour with a few well-placed words. She called me. I declined. She texted me. Jack, please, just talk to me. I'm sorry. You weren't supposed to find out like this. I walked back to my car. No rage. No shaking hands. Just silence. Because when a man sees the moment everything ends, there's nothing left to say. Only one direction to go. Forward. She walked into the house like she'd been mugged. Heels in one hand, phone in the other, breath short, eyes wide. The door clicked behind her, but she didn't even notice me standing in the kitchen. She froze when she saw me. Jack. Evening. Please let me explain. Explain what? The special at Celine's, or the hand on your thigh? She stepped forward. I didn't move. She stopped. That told me everything. It's not what it looked like. Then you should have picked a darker restaurant. She set her shoes down slowly. I wasn't cheating. You wore the dress I like. The lipstick you save for anniversaries. The perfume I gave you 2 years ago when we said we'd start over. But you weren't cheating. I was just having dinner. With Daniel Sutter? That broke her face. Not from surprise, but from how fast I said the name. You followed me? No. I confirmed. She sat down at the edge of the couch like it was a crime scene. He's just a friend. Then why did you delete your messages? What messages? The ones you sent him before you accidentally cleared your cache and factory reset your phone. Her hands were shaking now. She realized this wasn't a conversation. It was a debriefing. She wasn't the one digging. She was the one being dug through. We had dinner last month, too. Just dinner. He helped me on that Meriden account. The one that mysteriously gave his firm the inside track? Silence. You're leaking files to him? No. God, Jack, no. Then why does he know things I only told you? She looked down at her hands like they were no longer hers. I never meant for it to be. Physical. No. I mean, yes, but it was just once. So it was physical. I didn't want to hurt you. You just wanted to hurt quietly. She stood again. Walked toward me like we were still salvageable. I love you. You loved not getting caught. Please, Jack. Please, don't do anything crazy. Define crazy. Don't tell anyone. That was it. Not, I'm sorry again. Not, what can I do? Just damage control. Are you afraid of what Daniel will lose? Or what you will? Her silence was everything. I left the room. Didn't yell. Didn't slam the door. Just walked into the office and booted up the desktop. I already had access to our shared drive. And I knew exactly where she'd buried things she thought I'd never read. Because here's the part she forgot. I'm the one who taught her how to hide. It was silver. Thin. Elegant. Not flashy, but not cheap. I remember seeing it in the Saks bag 2 months ago, tucked under a pair of shoes she splurged on. She said she bought it for her sister's birthday. Asked me if we could swing the charge that month without dipping into savings. I said of course we could, because I was still that man, trusting, generous, blind. Only her sister never got the bracelet, and Caroline never wore it either, until I saw it again. Not on her. On another woman. Daniel's secretary. You don't forget jewelry like that, especially not when you paid for it. I saw it in a photo buried inside an internal presentation slide I accessed through her shared OneDrive folder. A holiday mixer. Candid shot. Caroline on Daniel's left, champagne glass in hand. That woman on his right, smiling like the world was hers. And the bracelet? Right there on her wrist. Same curve. Same clasp. So I did what any strategist would do. I cross-referenced the charge. $385. Purchased at 3:52 p.m. on a Friday, 2 blocks from Daniel's office. That wasn't a gift. That was currency. I didn't tell her I knew. I watched. Let her think she was still operating in the fog. That I was still in the dark. Meanwhile, I built the timeline. June 3rd, credit card charge. June 5th, work mixer photo. June 8th, internal memo from Caroline's laptop sent to Daniel's firm anonymously, but scrub data said otherwise. June 12th, bonus hits Daniel's public compensation log. Everything aligned. And that bracelet? It was just the tip of the bargain. I dug deeper into her drives. Found a series of drafts in her client notes folder, password protected, but not well. Same file opened across 5 revisions. Each one containing client-level details she should never have had. Client names, financial positions, private merger notes, and in the margins? DS only. DS. Daniel Sutter. She wasn't just cheating. She was selling me out. Our family. Our savings. Everything we built. Later that night, she asked if I wanted to order Thai. I nodded. She placed the order. We sat in silence. You've been quiet lately, she said. Work's been heavy. Mine too. Well, I said, maybe you need lighter accessories. She blinked. What? Like that bracelet you bought your sister. Oh. She paused. She loved it. I'm sure Daniel's assistant did too. She froze. Didn't speak. Didn't deny it. Just reached for the wine and poured like we were toasting the beginning of her downfall. Because the thing about betrayal is it's loud for the one watching it unfold in silence. And now? I was listening to every single tick of the clock. She expected a blow-up. Some raw, emotional outburst. That's what cheaters always fear, that they'll get caught by someone loud. Someone messy. Someone who screams and shatters and gives them a clean excuse to play the victim. Instead, I gave her silence. Worse than silence, organization. Every night after she fell asleep, I got to work. I turned my home office into a war room. One wall for financials. One for digital activity. One for hard evidence, photos, screenshots, email headers. I started with her phone backups. Most people don't know this, but iCloud keeps deleted data for up to 30 days. So I pulled her cloud archive. What I found? A second number. Used for voice calls on WhatsApp. Unregistered. Burned clean after March. She'd used it to contact Daniel for over 3 months straight. More than 200 voice notes. Dozens of just landed messages. One that said, Jack doesn't suspect a thing. He thinks we're still in therapy. After that, I set up my own digital archive. Off-site cloud folder. Encrypted. Updated daily. Titled simply, Contingency. Inside it. Call logs. Bank transfers. Screen-recorded Zoom meetings. Her laptop's clipboard history. And a 14-second video of Daniel grabbing her waist during a conference panel, his hand sliding under her jacket like it belonged there. She told me once that transparency was the new trust. So I gave her both. I mirrored her phone. Installed a clone app that fed every text, photo, and browser tab straight to a secure device in my drawer. She never noticed. Too busy playing wife to a man she thought was still asleep inside. I printed hard copies of every sensitive document she forwarded to him, every accidental attachment, every preview draft, and I highlighted the ones tied to the merger NDA, because Caroline hadn't just broken our marriage. She'd broken the law. She thought I was grieving. She thought the quiet dinners, the late-night walks, the vacant stares were signs I was processing the pain. But I wasn't processing anything. I was curating. Every breath she took inside my house was a potential footnote in a case file. And the most damning piece? An audio file I found in her cloud cache. She'd recorded herself laughing on a call. He still thinks I'm protecting him. I almost feel bad. She said that to Daniel. On a Thursday, while I was helping our daughter with a science project about volcanoes. That night, Caroline curled up against me on the couch. I miss you. I'm right here. No. I miss the way we used to be. I looked at her. Thought about how many documents she deleted before dinner. Maybe we were never that way. She didn't reply. She just laid her head on my chest. While I stared at the ceiling, already preparing the folder labeled SEC Violation Phase 1. I thought betrayal had a ceiling. That once you saw your wife in another man's messages, wearing your shirt, lying in your house, it couldn't get worse. But then I found the spreadsheet. It was buried in a folder she had labeled HR Planning, Q4. No password. Just enough to make it look like office admin fluff. Inside? Rows of raw, confidential data. Projections. Buyout terms. Upcoming merger schedules. Executive reshuffles, internal info from my firm. Data that hadn't even been released internally to senior directors yet. And at the bottom? A file transfer log. Forwarded to sutter@renholdcapital.com. Daniel's firm. That changed everything. This wasn't just infidelity. This was industrial espionage. She wasn't just screwing the competition she was feeding him. I scrolled deeper. Found payment records. 2 wire transfers. Both labeled consulting retainer. The amounts weren't massive, but they were specific. $4,200 on the 15th. $4,800 on the 30th. From an LLC out of state. Delaware shell. I traced it. Registered to a P.O. box. Used by a financial firm tied to Reinhold's M&A arm. It was clean. Legal. Hidden. But it was there. He was paying her. I printed it all. Laid the papers out on the table like an autopsy. Caroline walked in halfway through. She stopped cold when she saw what I was looking at. What is that? That's the reason I'm going to bury you and your boyfriend. Jack. You didn't just lie to me. You compromised protected data. It wasn't. Stop. She blinked. You think I wanted this? I think you wanted leverage. And you found it between your legs. She sat down slowly. Daniel said it wasn't a big deal. Just a few numbers. He used you. You were the inside leak. And now? I have the trail. That night, I started a new folder. Federal exposure, full chain. Every file she moved. Every IP address. Every timestamp, matched with call logs. I pulled security footage from the building's internal cameras and matched her login sessions to device IDs. She forgot one thing. I'm in finance. I don't guess, I audit. Later, she came into the bedroom. Didn't speak. Just crawled into bed like she was still welcome there. I watched her sleep. Calm. Dreaming. Like she wasn't standing on a minefield. Like the man beside her wasn't already pressing the detonator. My brother and I aren't close. Not in the way people imagine when they hear family in high places. We talk twice a year. Usually on birthdays. Sometimes Christmas if no one's fighting. But we share one thing. We both play by the rules until someone gives us a reason not to. He's a lawyer inside the Securities and Exchange Commission. Senior investigator. Seen it all. Hedge fund implosions, IPO fraud, whistleblower leaks. So when I called him out of the blue on a Monday morning and said, I've got a hypothetical scenario for you, he didn't laugh. He just said, start talking. I walked him through it step by step. No names. No firms. No relationship context. Just a mid-level executive at a consulting firm with access to merger data who had been forwarding internal projections to a competitor in exchange for under-the-table compensation through a personal connection. His tone shifted instantly. That's felony level. Corporate espionage. Wire fraud if payments cross state lines. What if the employee had a personal relationship with the person receiving the data? Makes it worse. Establishes motive. Corruption of judgment. SEC doesn't care if it was sexual or financial. It's breach of fiduciary duty. What if I have the documents? Emails. Transfers. Timestamps. Then you've got a weapon. He paused. Then dropped the real question. How do you know all this? I didn't answer. He didn't push. Look, he said, if what you're saying is real, You need to come in. File it clean. Whistleblower protection kicks in. You can be anonymous if you want. And what happens to the person involved? Best case? Fired, blacklisted. Worst? Charged. I thanked him. Hung up. Sat at my desk for over an hour, staring at my screen. Not moving. Not because I was unsure, but because I realized something. She didn't just destroy our marriage. She opened a door she never expected anyone to walk through. And now I was already inside the room. That night, she poured wine and asked if I wanted to talk. We can fix this, she said. Fix what? Us. You think this is about us? It's not too late. I nodded. No, it's not. She smiled, thinking the storm was over. I smiled too, because it had just started. I started shaving again. Not because I cared how I looked, but because Caroline noticed. She said, "You're starting to look like yourself again." I nodded. Trying. She smiled, leaned across the counter, kissed my cheek. That night, I added a new category to my war folder. Public optics for HR. Because now, I wasn't just collecting evidence. I was building the story that would end her. Every day, I did something to lower her guard. I cooked breakfast. I watched one of her favorite shows with her on the couch. I even left a small note in her work bag. Let's keep fighting for this. She showed it to me later with tears in her eyes. Said, I knew we could come back. I kissed her forehead, then got up at 2 a.m. and uploaded 3 more files to the secure drive, including one that showed a full chain of access from her laptop to Reinhold's server 3 weeks before she denied contact. The bomb I was building wasn't made of explosives. It was made of narrative. And when it detonated, it wouldn't just end her job. It would erase her name from everything she built. I contacted a forensic accountant quietly. Told him I was doing a background check on a prospective business partner. Fed him Caroline's payment trail, every transfer, every line of movement. He responded in a day. This is more than unethical. If this hits regulatory hands, you're talking about jail time. Perfect. At home, I started planting reminders, breadcrumbs of fake vulnerability. I let her catch me staring blankly at the wall. I opened a bottle of scotch, took one sip, left it on the counter untouched. I let her see me cry watching a scene in a movie we'd already seen 3 times. All of it theater. Every one of those moments, purchase time. In the background, I was setting the final plan in motion. A scheduled drop of the entire archive to her company's compliance department. A mirror drive sent to a contact at the SEC. And a meeting already arranged with a woman who had even more reason than me to end Daniel. His fiancée. I'd found her on LinkedIn. Cross-referenced her work profile, matched her to photos in Caroline's phone. She had no idea who I was until I sent the message. We've both been lied to. I have proof. And a time slot. Are you ready to see it? She replied with one word. When? That night, Caroline lit a candle and ran a bath. Come in, she said. Let's reset. I stood in the doorway, watching her soak in her illusion. Tomorrow, I said. Let's reset tomorrow. Because I already knew. Tomorrow is when it all burns. Her name was Elise. 38. Senior PR director at a pharmaceutical firm. Perfect posture, clipped tone. The kind of woman who didn't just survive betrayal, she prepped for it in her sleep. We met at a neutral cafe downtown. Corner booth. No names exchanged at first. Just nods. Mutual damage beneath the surface. She wore black. No ring. I placed the envelope between us like it was a napkin. She looked at it. Didn't touch it yet. He's been cheating, I said. I know. With my wife. Her eyes flickered. Caroline Whitmore? So you do know. Not at first. But the calls started changing tone a few months ago. He'd answer at odd hours. Got cagey with his phone. Stopped wearing his ring. She opened the envelope. Inside. Copies of the burner messages. Photos from the industry panel. Screenshots of Caroline's data leaks. The payment trail. A timeline of every documented interaction. She took her time. Read everything without blinking. When she got to the bank transfers, she let out a breath shallow and sharp. This is more than an affair. It's criminal. He told me Caroline was just a friendly contact. Said she was helping with press access. She's been feeding him classified financials. Elise closed the folder. If the SEC gets this, they already have it. In her firm. Tomorrow morning. right before their quarterly board call. She smiled, not out of joy, out of relief. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. What do you want? I didn't answer right away, because I didn't want money. I didn't want drama. I wanted obliteration. I want the fall to be public and thorough. You're in PR. You know how to nudge the right words to the right inboxes. Media. Anonymous leak. 2 names. 2 firms. 1 romantic conflict of interest. It won't look like revenge. It'll look like accountability. She nodded. And I realized something. I wasn't the only one building a case. Elise had her own archive, her own receipts, her own war map. Before we left, she handed me a thumb drive from his iCloud, backed up automatically. I didn't mean to find it, but I'm glad I did. I didn't check it until I was back in my car. Inside, 6 voicemails. For video clips. 1 note file. All of them confirmed everything Caroline denied. The videos were short. One of them, from my living room. Daniel had filmed her laughing, sprawled across our couch, saying, "He still thinks I'm at yoga. What a saint." I stared at the screen, fingers trembling. Not from rage. From resolution. Because the final nail had been handed to me by the one person who had just as much to gain. I messaged Elise that night. "Tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. drop everything." She replied, "Already done." Caroline's firm held its quarterly acquisition meeting every second Thursday at 9 a.m. High-level executives, department heads, 1 legal rep on standby. No press, no noise. Just suits, spreadsheets, and strategy. Unless you walked in carrying a detonator. I arrived at 8:47, pressed the elevator button, carried a plain black messenger bag, wore the same tailored suit I wore to our wedding. The receptionist looked up. "Jack? Is she in?" "She's already seated." "Good." I stepped into the glass conference room at exactly 9:01. The CEO was mid-sentence. Caroline sat near the end of the table, legal pad in front of her, coffee just cooling. She looked up, saw me, and froze. "Jack, what?" "Continue," I said to the room. "I just have a quick slide to share." The room shifted. Whispered confusion. The CEO frowned. "Mr. Whitmore, this isn't. Won't take long." I walked to the projector station, plugged in my laptop. No words. Just click. The screen blinked to life. Slide 1. Unauthorized data transfer timeline, Caroline Whitmore, Reinhold Capital. Murmurs. Slide 2. Bank transfers. Dates. Account names. Matching withdrawals. Slide 3. A screen-recorded video. Caroline on a Zoom call with Daniel. He's shirtless. She's smiling. The Whitmore model's complete. M&A doc attached. Slide 4. A whistleblower report. Already stamped received by the SEC. Caroline stood. "Jack, please. Not here. Too late. We can talk about this." "You already talked." "For months." To him. Behind my back. Using their secrets. She turned to the board. "This is out of context. Play clip 3. I clicked. Video loaded. Her voice filled the room. "He still thinks I'm protecting him. I almost feel bad." The legal counsel stood next. "We need to pause this meeting." The CEO nodded, already texting. "Caroline, we'll need to speak privately." Immediately. She turned pale. Not sad. Not sorry. Exposed. I unplugged the laptop. Turned to the room. "Consider yourselves notified. You may want to start your own audit." Then I walked out. No one stopped me. In the hallway, my phone buzzed. "Elise. Daniel just got served." Attached. A photo of him being walked out of a downtown office. Head down. Hand over his face. That night, Caroline came home. Keys shaking in her hand. "You humiliated me." "No. I revealed you. I could lose everything." "You already did. This isn't justice. It's documentation." She packed a bag. Left before morning. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't slam the door. Just vanished. I didn't hear from her for 9 days. No texts. No voicemails. Not even a lawyer's letter. Then the silence cracked. An email, sent at 3:07 a.m., subject line blank. "You didn't have to destroy everything. We could have walked away clean. I'm not your enemy." I didn't respond. Because when someone poisons the well, you don't meet them at the water's edge. You build your own. 3 weeks after the boardroom incident, her name was scrubbed from the firm's website. No profile. No contact listing. Gone. A week later, her LinkedIn changed. Open to new opportunities. No references. No portfolio links. A ghost with a corporate smile. I checked back a month later, deactivated. Daniel? He was under internal investigation for breach of contract and financial misconduct. Reinhold froze his account access, then quietly fired him. He filed for arbitration. It was denied. Last I heard, he took a job 2 states away with a 3-month probationary contract. Elise sent me the press release. No quotes. No fanfare. Just a 2-line acknowledgement of his exit. The same man who thought he could buy silence with compliments and wire transfers now reduced to white noise in the HR log. And Caroline? She moved in with her sister. I know because our bank still had shared access when she bought groceries from a new zip code. She filed a petition for reconciliation 3 months later. I never opened it. Just forwarded it to my attorney with 1 sentence. She already had her second chance. She sold it. I kept the war room up for a while. Not out of obsession, but as a monument. Every wall of that room held evidence of a man who refused to go down quietly, who didn't yell or break dishes, who didn't chase or beg, a man who gathered facts, who turned whispers into wreckage. Eventually, I painted the walls, sold the house, moved to a different city, one where no one knew me as Jack Whitmore, husband of the Golden Girl. Now, they just know me as the quiet one, the guy who doesn't talk much but never misses a detail. And every time someone asks if I'm married, I say the same thing. Not anymore. She broke the contract. Because in the end, she lied. She gambled. She fell. And I didn't just survive it. I made sure every piece of her fall was documented, public, permanent, and earned.